welcome to part 3. The 1938-ish, 40-ish, 40s-ish Robbins and Myers stand fan is, well, it's almost done. We kind of jumped ahead a little bit. I skipped a few steps to bring you quality content. No, that's not what happened. What happened was, I had a change of heart. After having such fantastic luck with the Rust-Oleum lacquer paint, I decided to just do the whole thing in lacquer. And it's a decision that we may regret in a couple of years. But come to think of it, I'm pretty sure that I used that black lacquer paint on the Delco fan that's up in the living room and that's been running happily for the past year or so, without any signs of degradation or giving up. Lacquer is a superior finish for these fans. Just the way it is. I know, Oreo agrees. Exactly. He loves that. He just wants to be the center of attention. And he hears me down here, he hears my voice, doesn't know what I'm doing or who I'm talking to. He just hears me and wants to be part of the action, so there he is. Please don't jump on that. Which is a great segue to my next misadventure. Let me find my there's the tripod. So, when we discussed the scope of this project, we also planned on painting the blades. They're already in the cage. What I ended up doing was, I did actually start painting these. I used the black lacquer paint, and I was getting fish eyes everywhere, even after thoroughly degreasing and sanding and what have you. So I was getting fish eyes all over the finish, and I'm thinking, no, this is not how we're doing this. So I thought about sending them out to be All right, so let me backtrack a bit. When I acquired this fan back in 08, I had started a see if we can get these blades out of here. Hold on. Just bear with me for a sec here. I had this down pat too. I really did, I swear to God. I had this down. Let's get a better wide view of this here. So, you have to do it like this. Really like this. But it's not happening to me. Anyway. Some bitch. Am I doing it backwards? Now, I'm glad this is happening because it points out one of the reasons why I decided not to paint these. Bear with me here. There we go. I just did this too. Anyway, so I was getting fish eyes all over the blades, and I'm like, this sucks. So I stripped the paint off, and I was left, and after I started really cleaning the aluminum up and polishing it, not with a buffing wheel, that might be my next step, actually. Pick up a buffing kit. I think that would really be nice, but I don't think I'm going to go through the trouble. Why? Because really laziness, to be honest. I mean, I'm honest with you guys, and I'm lazy. I knew there was something I could do. Alright, so we've got our stator. I'm going to put some cloth down here. I don't want to be working directly on the floor there. Alright, so what we got to do is we're going to cut this string here. Okay. We're going to replace all of this string anyway. You want to make sure that you don't damage the enamel. Oh wow, look at this. I put the zip ties in years ago when I had this motor apart the first time because the string was missing. What happened was it would degrade. Well, it wasn't missing. It had just degraded to the point where it was falling off. This string, by the way, serves a purpose. The motor will run without it. But what this stuff does is it prevents the coils from buzzing. And because without it, these coils will buzz when powered on. And we're just going to replace all of it because it's just really rotten. It's soaked in oil. I mean, at this point, it's just a fuse. And not the good kind. It's the kind you don't want. All right. Okay. Let's see if we can do this. This is all. Yeah. These have been together for a long time. Oh man, this is so rotted. All this string is just gone, so. Alright. So there are two separate electromagnets. Well, actually, well, not quite two separate, but there are basically two electromagnets in this coil. Probably, well, there's actually, no, I think there's one giant coil, but it's cut like in the middle. So when you're on low speed, it only powers up half the wire. And then when you put it on second speed, it just rails it. So this is a delicate operation. It really is, because if you make a mistake, you could potentially end up having to rewind the whole motor, which is not something I want to do. Alright. Very careful. This is old enameled wire, and that enamel could come off. If it does, if you do this job, if you're working on an old motor like this, and you start to see bare copper wire appear, like that is the enamel coming off, that's a point where you should probably stop and reassess what you're doing. Fortunately, we're not there. But you want to be super careful. Okay, so we got three junctions. Now, our job right now is to figure out which wire goes where. Now, the red wire, the one I marked red, that's to the plug. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my multimeter, and we're going to set it to tone. This is why it's important when you're taking something like this motor apart, especially some of the more complicated ones, like a 4-head wire unit model, 4-strand. You want to make sure that you're not screwing yourself over. Okay. Because trying to rewire some of these things without knowing what goes where can be devastatingly difficult. So, all right. What I want to do is what I really want to do, I'll tell you what I want to do, is I want to remove these sleeves very carefully. I'm going to use a sharp razor blade. Because see, when you start to like, let's say I were to get this zoomed in a little better. Let's say I just started cutting this wire. I cut this wire off, right? Well, if I have to resplice it, I've lost that wire permanently. I can't get it back. So what I want to do do, is grab myself a fresh blade. This is different. I usually see, you know, old-fashioned phenolic resin-soaked electrical tape on these types of junctions, but I need like a board or something to splice onto. Let's see. Well, I don't want to cut my finger. Scrap wood or something here. Yeah, this will work. You want to open up this. So this is like, you know, old-fashioned heat shrink tubing, but it's not heat shrink tubing. It's like a cotton sock with resin, like mummy bandages. There we go. Remove this. Okay, so now we've exposed the original connection. I'm going to very gently unwind this wire. Save wire fires. I've had a motor smoke on me. I thought I did it right. I still to this day don't know what went wrong, but I thought I was doing everything right, and the thing just lit up on me after I had wired it up with new cabling and all that. That was a very depressing time. So let's just confirm whether I'm right. This is going to be the red one because this is the beginning of each coil, and then you've got your low and high over here. One is the other. Here we go. It's going to be red. Really? Or am I just not getting a good connection? Oh, okay, here we go. I'm trying. No, huh? It's not red? Are you sure about that one? Are you sure? Is that your final answer? Or is there just the wires really smoked here? Let's strip it back. Really now? Are you sure about that? Because I know you're red. I know you are. Because that was the common lead. Right? No, nothing. Are my leads loose? Alright, let's try blue. I guess anything's possible. Look at that, the insulation is falling apart in here too, so that's a thing. Alright, let's try blue. I'm not getting any continuity there either. It is the green one. Really? Okay. Now on our switch, that is going to be high. Okay. All right. I guess that's it then. So I'm going to mark these. So that's going to be marked with green paint. Okay. So I actually did a little test. You know how so we're going to just kind of mark these up. What I was going to say is, do you know, the Muffin Man, no, do you know how the wire doesn't have any markings left? If it did, it's long gone, or they are long gone. But what we do have, I noticed that the wire is actually dyed. Let me zoom out a little bit. There we go. The wire itself, the insulation has some kind of a dye in it. And if you take a knife, you can kind of see what it was. kind of, sort of. And this one looks like it might have been yellow at one time. I see a little bit of a yellow tinge. This one was red. You can see a little bit of a red tinge to it. I'll zoom in a little bit so you can see it. But the yellow one, or the green one, was black. Through and through. Which matches up with what I'm seeing over here. Allow me to show you. So, yellow, black, and red. But due to age and oil contamination, unfortunately, we've lost those color combinations. So, that leaves us with 2 more wires. A red, well, what we now know is yellow, and the blue. We're using our own color combinations from now on, so that's not an issue. This one here. Where's our little wood block? I'm going to put my little wood block here, and I'm going to cut this sucker apart. Can you see what I see? Can you see what I... There we go. So I'm going to take my little blade. I'm going to cut that motherfucker apart. There we go. Okay. And by process of elimination, I guess so the other one is going to be our red. Why did I use those colors, you might be asking? Well, here's the deal. Those are the only paint colors we have. So it's really that simple. Use what you got. Use what you got. Now, I'm going to point something out here that's pretty obvious to me, but may not be to you over in the camera side of things. But we noticed, or we've determined that the red one is, well, that's mains power. That's going straight to, you know, the earth. So, what's happening here is, you'll notice how it's thicker. It's thicker, much thicker than the other wires. I thought that was interesting. And again, I think watching paint dry is interesting. So here's our, look at this. This was a fire hazard waiting to happen. This is what oil does. Look at this. The insulation is just crumbling. Absolutely crumbling off. Oh my God. Look at that. Just gonzo. Right here. Oh, just no good. No good, my friends. No effing good. So let's see if it even fits through the little hole. No. I don't want to ram it through there. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut some of this down. And we're going to use a razor blade. First, I'm going to create a... yeah, this is important. We got to get some shrink tubing. That's step one. Oh, wait, I got some right here. Okay, we got to get some shrink tubing. Preferably something that'll fit this wire, maybe. Like this stuff here. Okay. We're gonna probably butt it up to about this point here. All right, so right about there should do her. And that gives us some room to work. All right. We're going to heat shrink tube that. Turn our gun on here. Alright, here we are. Now that is to prevent this from unweaving. Okay. Then we take our nice sharp razor blade. And we're going to cut a slit right there. So this is double jacketed wire. You'll see there's a gray insulator there. And we're going to just go ahead and slice and dice the cotton off, or the, it's actually rayon. We determined it's rayon, my friends. I'm going to remove the rayon. If I can get a straight cut on there, I'll be able to remove it all in one piece. Try that again. There we go. Okay. Aha. We're getting down into the nitty-gritty. Okay. Okay, there's that. And look at that. You just stick it down in there. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that beautiful? Now, when that gets stuck through the motor housing, we might have a problem. Shit. I think I put too much heat shrink tubing. Yeah. Yeah, I think so. How are we going to mitigate that without cutting into this? I might have to do this again. I wasn't thinking, because that's going to stick out from the motor housing. And I don't want heat shrink tubing coming through this hole here. We don't want that. I think that'll be better. It's still, no, because there's really not... I didn't think this through, did I? Oh, no. Oh, hell no. Let's see if we can do this without making a mess. Yeah, I think we got it. Yeah. I was a moil in a past life. Okay. And if any of it peeks through, that'll be okay. I'll be happy with that. But I think I did get a little bit happy there with the knife. And I'm just gonna burnify it a little bit. I'm also gonna burnify these ends here. Just like that. Okay. Now let's get back to where we were. We're getting ready to wire this motor up. Alright, so I started doing some soldering here and it just wasn't going well. And I'll explain why. That way we can both learn together. I was using one of those torture device soldering guns, you know, the ones that you use to solder big giant things. A little too much heat, so it did a couple of things. It pre-shrunk my shrink tubing. It did it very fast, just through proximity. And it also caused a slight accident. I'm glad this happened because I can at least explain what you can do about it if it happens to you. But we're also going to go ahead and clean the wire first. I was thinking I could just, it's enameled wire, so, normally when you're doing, jumpers and stuff on boards, you can just cook it. The enamel just kind of burns off. Well, we're not going to do that because that just created a lot of slag and I just wasn't happy with the results. So we're going to do this over again. We're going to do it correctly this time, and I'm going to clean. But I also want to point out that a little blob of solder dropped on one of the coils down here. It landed on one strand. Now this could be devastating. If you drop solder into there, you could create a massive short. Fortunately, I was able to gently desolder it, and I'm going to put a piece of probably some electrical tape or something in there just to insulate that a little better. So anyway, yes, so that can happen, and you don't want that to happen, but it happened to me. It could happen to you. We all have good intentions in life, and bad things happen to good people. So, you know, just take the good with the bad. All right, so this is our new junction. I'm going to try to do this best I can. But you want to make sure that you just don't let that shit happen. I did. Look at me now. So, too much heat can be a problem. Too little heat. Now, it's already... this isn't going to work. It's going to shrink the tubing again. I need something to take that heat up, so I'm going to use a pair of pliers. Hopefully this will take the heat before it gets to that point. So the pliers can act as a heat sink. Seems to be working so far. Okay. So there we are. Yeah. So that connection is made. I'm going to now drag my shrink tubing upward to cover the damaged part of the wire and the joint. And just like that, there we go. So hopefully, kids, we didn't cause a major problem. Now it would help if I had a little bit of some kind of an enamel or something to give to this little thing here, but I don't have anything to paint on. But that, my friends, there's one connection done. Now we'll go ahead and grab our heat gun and we'll shrink it down. We should probably do a resistance check on the motor before we fire it up when that time comes. But you see this little, I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. There's this little damaged piece of wire here. Where the enamels come off over here. In fact, it doesn't look too good over here either. I think what I need to do is get some brush on enamel and just kind of do some patchwork here just to be safe. But you can see there's some bare wire there. We don't want to see that. That's the risk when you rewire an old motor like this. But the risk of not rewiring it is far worse because you have, in this case, we had some pretty nasty wiring that was an absolute hazard. So, you know, it's kind of a damned if you do kind of situation. But I'm going to look up what I should use for, and I think you can just use paint. Paint is dielectric, and I can just paint right over that, and it should be good. But I want to make sure that whatever I use doesn't affect the rest of it. I think they used lacquer back then. I'm not really positive. I'm going to have to look at that. I'm going to have to look into that. Because if we fire this up, there's a chance that this coil could short out and smoke. So that could be bad too. Alright, before we go crazy, I'm going to just check for continuity on these wires. I probably should have done that first, just to see what we were starting out with. So what I've got to do is expose some wire on my head wire. And can do that right now. So before I cut this, I need to retape it. So that it doesn't. This is you're going to find this is a recurring theme when you're working with this stuff. Never leave any loose ends untaped because it will fray. It will fray. So we're going to just go ahead and we're going to cut. We're going to shorten this anyway, but I just need to expose some leads. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to check the white wire, which is our unswitched, against the other two, and check for shorts. Check for open circuits, you know, that kind of thing. You want to really know what you're dealing with. It would be smarter to get these numbers before you even begin. I probably should have mentioned that. I should have done that, but I didn't. Alright, so here we go. So let's see where we're at. So we're going to go from white wire to green wire, which is, green is going to be low speed. Green is low, so here we go. I'm getting 9.6, 9.5 ohms. So between white wire and black, which was the low, blue was the high speed, I'm getting 15.5 ohms. That seems backwards to me, don't you? Don't you think so? It's not a dead short. Will the buzzer come off? Let's see. Of course it will, because it does have continuity. Interesting. Interesting. So high speed is green, low speed is blue. High speed is, oh wait. High speed being green, it should be a lower number. 11, 10, 9.3. Let me just kind of jostle these around a little bit, see if it changes anything. Nah, good. And then low speed should be a higher number, because there's more resistance, and that seems to be the case. I think I did that right. Pretty sure. What it means is we don't have a short circuit, so that's good. What if I go black to green? .6, 6.5. How about black? No, that's pretty much it. Okay. I just shot it a few more times with the enamel, and I think that's going to give us a little bit of peace of mind. I want to point out one more thing. So I already ran the wire through the head, or through the tube here, but what I did not do is set a strain relief knot in the wire. Now there's a small hole at the bottom of this tube, right about here, and I believe that hole is there for that purpose. So what we need to do is measure from here to here, about, I'm going to say about 24 inches, 2 feet. So I'm going to pull the wire up about 2 feet, and I'm going to mark off where that knot should go. Because as it is, if we don't do that, and if somebody trips over that wire, it's going to pull it right out of the switch, which would be really bad. Like, super bad. So right about there. So we're going to put our little knot. I'm going to mark that off. Right about there. I'm going to put a knot there, maybe a double knot. And because I didn't have this with the original wire, I don't know how they did that. So I don't know if it was just a simple knot or if it was something more sinister. So we're going to put a knot here, right about there. And that's okay. This is rubber wire. It can be knotted like this, and it's not going to cause a holy crisis. So we're going to then run the wire down the tube. See if that stops where I think it's going to stop. Ah, it did. Okay. We now have a strain relief. Well, we have a little safety measure to prevent the wire from being yanked out of the switch. But what I do need to do is definitely rethread. Look at all this old cotton. So it looks like it goes from the adjacent coil over, around, twice, and then it swings back. Okay, I think I see what I have to do here. But this thread is doing nothing anymore. It's just done. All done. Useless. Completely rotted. We're going to replace it with nylon. Not because it's the right thing to use, but because it's what I have. It's about the right thickness. But this stuff, look at that. Look at that. No strength at all. So let's start on this side. There shouldn't be any complications over here. So what we need to do is kind of run all the thread through that we're going to need. Whatever. There will be waste. That's okay. Now I'm going to just go ahead and wrap it once or twice around this coil here. I've never done this, by the way. Just so you know. A lot of times I just make shit up as I go along. Most of my longtime viewers know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay. So we're just going to tie a knot. So you want this good and tight because in order for it to prevent the coils from buzzing, it has to be pretty tight. All right. All right. So we'll revisit that later. Now I'm going to go ahead and where's my lighter? Just going to burn that end like so. Okay. All right. So now it's going to go to the next coil. We're going to tie that off. Okay. So we'll go to the adjoining one. Okay. Now this is critical. We have to go around that loop. I'll show you why in a minute. Like that. And we wrap it again. Get it nice and tight. And don't worry, we're going to short check it again when we're done. Just in case we disrupted the universe and we created a little short. Okay. And I'm going to wrap it again. Oh shit, I lost the end again. Damn it. Okay. again with this. I'm telling you, don't be me, guys. As if I had to say that out loud. Anything I do, you can do better. Anything you can do, no, anything I can do, you can do better than me. All right. That's the attitude I have right now. So then we wrap it. It'd be nice if I had another set of hands. Why couldn't humans have like 4 arms? You know? Why? Or 3 arms. I'll take 3 arms. We could be so much more productive as a species if we had 3 arms. But no. It's 2-arm bullshit. Freaking rip-off. Alright. Just like that. Then we go to the next one. And we do it all over again. I think it'll be okay. I put a little bit of cardboard there just to give it a little extra insulation. And I think that'll help out in the long term. What do you think? Yay, nay? Well, I guess it doesn't matter because it's already done. Okay. At this point, we're going to put the stator back into the motor housing. So I'm going to guesstimate how long this cable has to be, and then I'm going to tape up and do what I need to protect it. No zip ties anymore, as they weren't doing much. And these are nice and tight. Nice tight coils. Tight. Very tight. Okay. Okay, solution has been found for the grommets. So I found that if I get silicone spray and spray the wire, problem solved. So we got the wires through both grommets and we're looking good. There's enough wire there to clear the prop. I also sleeved the I actually snuck a little bit of shrink tubing up between the coils from the other side to better insulate the wire against the adjacent coils. I felt that was probably a smart move. I think I'm right. So you got the wiring going to here. Now we just got to pretty much hook up the switch. And yeah, we're almost pretty much there at this point. What else is there left to do, right? So we've got everything pretty much lightly assembled. This is not bolted down. I've got these nuts in place for the stator. That's firmly mounted. The motor just needs to be seated, if you will. It has swivel bearings on the front and rear, so they will self-adjust. What it all means is we're ready to light this sucker up. Hopefully, not literally. Now, a lot can go wrong when you wire up a motor. So, why don't we do some preliminary checks before we plug it in and let out the proverbial smoke. To do that, I have my multimeter here, and I'll put the multimeter up. Now, you remember the readings we got on the windings themselves? Well, now we're going to add in some wiring and a switch and just see what those numbers look like now. So, on resistance, I'll set it to a tone. Okay. I'm going to check yeah. Fan's in the off position right now, so we're going to check for any dead shorts. Right now, it should do nothing. It should have no beeping. No beeping confirmed. Okay, now we're going to go to low speed, high speed. Okay, we have 11, 10, 9.5 ohms. On low, that jumps to 15.6. Okay, preliminary checks are good. And that steel wool is conductive. Thank you. Okay. I've got oil in the motor. And the motor is switched off. I'm going to plug it in right now. Let me get out of the way. Energized. Ready, set, high. And it runs. And I'm not getting electrocuted. It's a good sign. Oscillator is oscillating. How about low? It works in low too. You can hear the pitch of the motor change a bit. High, low, low. Yeah, it's got plenty of piss and vinegar. Everything's so far so good. Everything's good. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to just This is actually I'm glad we're here now, because what we need to do is find magnetic center. So, but to do that, I've got to probably torque up the make sure that this motor housing is nice and tight. So you'll notice if I bump the shaft a little bit, you see how it returns to where it wants to. It's like a default position. See how it bounces back and forth? That's magnetic center. That is at the point where the magnetism is equal on both sides of the... I'm just making that shit up. But no, really though, that is very important on a fan motor. You want to make, or any electric motor for that matter, when you have to put in thrust washers and stuff, you want to make sure that those thrust washers don't push the motor out of its magnetic center. If I pull on it and goes this way, it wants to return. That's where she wants to ride. So that is where we need to shim the motor. We need to give it some free play either direction, but we don't want to over shim on the front or the back, because then the motor will be constantly fighting itself. Make sense? So here's how we do it. Now while we're here, we might as well go ahead and start greasing up the motor, or the gearbox in the back. We're going to use some of our Bel-Ray grease while it's running, so that it'll suck some of it in there, right? It'll start sucking it in, and we can begin to pack it in really nicely. See how that works? Just kind of let it take it in, and then we can shut the motor off and pack it full once more. Just let it suck it all in there until it starts to churn. See? Starting to churn it up like a butter churn. It's quieted the motor down a little bit. Gotta pack that shit in. Oh, you want it. Oh, you want it so bad. Alright, you know what time it is? Time for the head badge. Or tail badge. Thankfully, we still have ours, and it has not been tampered with. Alright, so let's first start by drilling out the tag holes and see if that rivet will fit. Otherwise, I'm going to have to go gargantuan with these holes. You should do it. Don't want to do this. Just putting that out there. But let's see how that works. Oh yeah, that'll do. Still nice and slow. And I went with the aluminum rivets, not the steel rivets, because the aluminum ones require less force to install, which is a better idea for us at this juncture. They're softer. What we don't want to do is put a shit ton of pressure on this old casting. The thing is, castings back in the day, I mean, the technology to make these fans wasn't, how can I put this? Metallurgy wasn't what it is today. I know, right? It seems like everything they did in the old days was better than anything they do today, but we can make better metals than they did back then, with less impurities and all that. So what I'm saying is, I don't want to put too much tension and risk cracking the casting. Oh, you motherfucker. The rivet gun skated when it let loose. I can fix that. I guess I have to now. All right, here we go. I paint in this direction. Here we are. So I went over to Horrible Freight and I got some metal polishing supplies. I've never really done metal polishing. So this will be a new thing for me. I've never done this. And we're gonna just, you know what? See what happens. So I'm gonna chuck my drill with one of these little, we'll peel off a little bit of this stuff. And we're gonna load up our buffer wheel. Oh wow! So this is after a rough polish with the rapid cut, and now we'll do a final polish. Well, this is the finished product. I was expecting it to be a little bit, I don't know, shinier, a little smoother. But it looks all right, and well, this is the first time I've ever polished metal in my life, actually. So we're now at a point where we need to figure out the we need to get the rotor centered, find out where it wants to live. We talked about this earlier. And now it's time to do it. I just got the washer kit in the mail, so here we go. I'm going to put it on high. There we go. Clean this off. Get any residual oils. Okay, we're going to take our marker, our black marker, and we're going to mark the shaft right where it wants to live. Bounce it back a few times. Okay, that's where it wants to live. Okay, you got that? Probably not. Let's try to move this forward for you. See how it's bouncing like that? Well, that's because the back is not on properly, so it's giving it a bit of a Bit of a bias. Okay. Now what we do is we shut her down. Got to remove the back of the motor. And we'll pull the rotor out. I'm going to keep the steel washers that were there. They're still good. I got to find something that closely resembles what we're taking out. That's this cracked thing here. These all got mixed up in shipping. I don't know how that happens, but it happened. I think this is a close approximation. There we go. We'll take one, maybe two. Oops, wrong one. Yeah, these are all jumbled, but whatever. I'm going to try two with the steel washer and we'll see. You want to have some play because this is going to expand. Alright, let's see how that looks. I'm going to put maybe one more in there. Come on, baby. There we go. Okay. I think that's good. Now for the back, I'm going to put a couple more of those washers. A ton of play. So just try to figure out what it's calling for and go with that. Okay. So with this clamped on like that, I think that is actually a pretty healthy amount of play. Let's see what it sounds like. I'd say it sounds pretty good. Hopefully that's not too much. Again, you don't want to bind the motor up. That is a risk that we don't want to take. I think it's got plenty of free play. I think that's good and tight, but not too tight. There is some room for expansion, so. Okay, at this point we can go ahead and start reassembly. Alright, so we've got these little shoe clip things. There should be one of those, and then a lock washer. And a nut. These are not full acorn nuts. They're actually drilled through. And these all got cleaned up on the wire wheel. They were pretty ratty looking. These, I believe, were plated brass. And, of course, the plating's long gone. We'll just get this on there snug. So now everything's all cinched together. And we'll put it on here. This thing does look, you know, now that I see it all together, and you'll see it in a moment, but this is a beautiful, beautiful fan. With the changes I've made, I like it even more. Yeah, I rarely do a full, you know, original style restoration. I try to keep things unique, and by polishing the blades on this fan, it just looks stunning, absolutely stunning. So we'll do the other one, and once I get that bullet back on, oh, this thing's gonna come alive. The thing is, the Art Deco period was one of the most, if not the most, beautiful periods in industrial design, in my opinion. Now, that is, again, subjective. Depends on the person. And the Art Deco period is one of my favorites. Art Deco buildings, Art Deco appliances. It was a time where, you know, they were just really going for streamlined look was in, and you can see it in, and of course, trains, automobiles, buildings, and appliances. Just a beautiful, beautiful period. Absolutely beautiful. Beautiful. Alright, so we've got that in place. Now we got to get the blades set, spaced correctly. Now, one of the reasons why it's critical to get the motor, to get the shaft end play checked, or in check, one of the reasons why you have to do that, this is supposed to be over here. Now, if you're still watching, you get to see the finished product, and here it is. It's a little dark in here, but that's okay. Even I look better in the dark. Okay, so this is the finished product. I hope you like it. The blades turned out very nice. I was really kicking myself in the teeth for the way they turned out, but you know, after seeing it run, after looking at it for a bit, I'm like, you know, I'm okay with this. So we'll just take a moment to walk around and admire its Art Deco styling. And this is one of, if not the best restorations I've ever done. I'd like to say that they get better every time I do one. I get a little bit better. My techniques get better. The materials I'm finding are getting better. I did repaint the base. It's got 2 more coats of black lacquer. It's still hardening, but it's dry. There are a few defects in the lacquer that I could work out with either a buffer or wet sanding and recoating, but I'm not gonna go nuts because it's gonna get scratched anyway. But it looks like a shiny disc, and that's exactly the look I was going for. Exactly what it should have looked like from the factory. So let's hear it run. Ready? Start on low. I'll start on high, that way you get the startup sound that everybody likes. Here we go. Lovely. Absolutely lovely. Put it on low. Look at those blades. Look at how they catch the light. Absolutely stunning. You can even see the reflection of the grill in the blades. It looks better than it would have looked in black. That's my whole thing. In black, they just don't have any real character. I'll put the oscillator on for you. For that, we're going to be using a 1920 wheat penny. Okay. I just pulled that out of my pocket, honestly. Where did we get a 1920 wheat penny? It just showed up. Okay, we're gonna use this. What are the odds, right? I mean, you know what I'm thinking. What are the odds that this is not the first time this penny has been used on this van? I'd say they're pretty slim. All right, here we go. Give it a good twist. Now, I'm going to tell you a story about this fan. If you're still with us, you're still watching this video, you must be really high or really bored. Takes a little more. So when I was recovering from my motorbike accident back in 2016, this fan was the only thing I had to keep me cool in the hot summer. It was late August, humid as hell, hot as hell. And this was the only thing I had going. My family dumped me in my house. I couldn't get around. I couldn't leave. I couldn't go upstairs to get the other fans. And I didn't want to call my family to come do that for me. So I ran this fan to keep me cool while I was recovering on the couch for a couple weeks. And it did the job, but every once in a while you'd hear the blades get hit by the grill, or the switch would malfunction because the switch was shithouse. We fixed it, but it wasn't in good shape. This poor thing, it was just barely hanging on, but it did. It hung on, and I was able to stay relatively cool while I recovered with a broken leg. And the painkillers I was on, I was constantly sweating, and oh my God, it was a nightmare. But thank God this thing held on just for me. It just hung in there just one more time before it finally gave up and really needed a full teardown. And for that, I reward it with a full restoration. See, you take care of your appliances and they'll take care of you. That's how and same with people. You take care of people, they take care of you, in theory. But that's all we have for now, and I thank you for watching, and this has been a very long video, and I'm very tired. So, you guys, keep them spinning.